yet again I am apologizing. This has been too long. I've had this car too long without doing a proper video on it. So today I'm going to kind of show you the quirks. We're going to do some ride along, and I'll have some hopefully sweet exhaust footage. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, this is my, can't do this right. This is my 99 Lotus Esprit. I bought it a couple months ago. I've always wanted one of these cars. To me it is, well, it's just a very 90s car. I had to have it. I've had a lot of different cars. I've had BMWs, over 200 cars or something like that. But regardless, never had a Lotus. Always wanted one, kind of a car to shoot for. I sold off a bunch of what I would consider harder to find cars, more expensive cars, so I could afford this and justify it. And I love it. Now, when I told my friends about a year ago that I was going to start looking for one of these cars, when I say friends, people in the car industry, they all kind of had the same reaction. They were like, you sure? You sure about that? Is that really what you want to do? And well, yeah, I mean, I'm not scared of it. They're acting like it's like like a Yugo or something that's just like constantly broken with no rewarding values. Well, yeah, I mean, I know I could take that money I spent for this and buy a Viper or a nice Corvette or something cool like that, but I wanted an Esprit. It's rare. It's such a departure from what I already own. I had to have one. So, as I had mentioned, not a lot of experience in, up close and in the flesh with these cars, maybe once or twice ever. So, buying one of these, I was in for a lot of surprises. Granted, I did a lot of research, but the very first thing I noticed is something I didn't expect. When I first opened the door to this car and sat inside, was the smell was just, it's unlike any other car. It smells like a leather shop. I mean, it smells like rich leather. I'm not sounding like a cheesy advert. It doesn't sound like any of my other cars with leather. Granted, German cars smell like crayons, but that's a whole other story. Everybody knows that. But this car is so quirky. It's just weird. I'm going to show you. So, it's not that dissimilar from most cars. Everything's pretty standard, except it literally took me 5 minutes to figure out where the hell the dimmer switch was. It's not in this row of switches. It's not in that row of switches. It's not on the stalk. It's right here. This dial is the dimmer switch. And while we're down here, let's look at some of this other stuff. I don't know what airplane this button came out of from the 60s, but that's the fuel release. I don't really have a problem with it. And then obviously there's something that goes here that this car doesn't have equipped. And I don't really know what, that's like an input for the radio. I assume somebody drilled that and put that in there. It has this doubled in here, and I hate it. I mean, yes, it's modern, it's Bluetooth. This is a 90s car. It's supposed to have a 90s radio in it, not something much newer. Unfortunately, you have to really modify the dash to get these in here, and I don't really want to know what lies behind this, but I will venture into that someday. One of the other weird things is the way to pop the bonnet. Am I saying that right? There's nothing. What there is, and I don't know if I can get this or not, is there's this lever. It's got an orange handle. It's like this swinging lever, and what that does is that releases this, and that lever literally just moves these. That's the lever down. It's like a all connected. It's like one big hoop of a piece. I've looked at it. It's just weird. It's just bizarre. Everything else is pretty normal. I say that with relativity. There's a lot of abnormal things about this car. Like when you close this, you can't just close it. That's not closed. It looks closed, but then you have to come back down here and swing that the other way. And now, hopefully, it's in. Also, a lot of like raw material used to put this car together. Like aluminum block for the wiper, but again, this is a very quirky car, and it has a C4 style parking brake where that's released, that's set, and then you press the button to release, but you just push it down when it's set. That way it doesn't impede you getting in and out, which, as you can see, it's kind of narrow in there. That's that pedal box I was talking about. Everything's just really, pedals are on top of each other. I really love the array of hardware they used on these. This is how to pop the rear hatch. Yes, I'm gonna call this a hatch. I don't know what they call it on the other side of the pond, but and then it has an auto-locking ram. That's there, you can see the engine. This piece merely just sits on here. It doesn't fasten down. There's the engine. It looks very simple, but it's really not. It's really quite complicated. And apparently this doesn't want to go back down in its place. There we go. But you have things like the battery back here. And then it has these drains. So obviously this is like a one-piece body. It's fiberglass. The water has to drain. It comes down through here, and you have these tubes. You can barely see in the camera. Another thing this car has, these are Ford window switches. They are probably the most mechanical feeling window switches, which pretty well suits the car, to be honest. These can be found in like Cougars and Grand Marquis, and a lot of Fords from the 90s and 2000s. Something else I think is funny, when I posted this on a couple different Facebook groups, I had a few people that clearly did not watch the video of how I bought this car, and they replied to it saying, well, that's what you get for buying a Lotus. You know, that's the type of car those are. First off, I own one, so you're not going to tell me anything new. Second, you didn't even watch the video. It's nothing wrong with the car. I mean, there's stuff wrong with the car, but it's a 20-year-old car. But the buying process is what sucks. The car is fantastic. I mean, fantastic. The guy that sold it to me sucks. Oh, God. And you run into traffic. Not literally. So I just got back from about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of backroading in this car. It's the very first time I've really pushed it. I drove pretty easy considering. I drive my 540 much harder, much more comfortable with that car. I have a lot more seat time. Obviously, I'm not trying to put this car in a ditch. A couple things to take away. Take the floor mat out of your car. That was really annoying. I had to take it out while I was driving. These cars don't really have anything to keep it in place, and it's kind of a safety issue. But the car was fantastic. The tires were so bad, like so bad. I could not look at the throttle. I couldn't even think about the throttle in third gear if the road even had a slight bend in it. But it was so fun. It is totally relaxing to take a car like this and just drive it the way it was meant to be driven. Granted, I didn't really drive it that hard. Yeah, I got on it a few times and I blew the tires off a couple times, but I'm not trying to get hurt or hurt anybody else. I just want to enjoy my car. There's really not a lot of cars on the road. I did get stuck behind a Toyota Camry going like 20 and 55. It's always a Camry. Anyway, one question seems to prevail over all others that I'm asked over on this car, and that is, what are your plans for it? What's your first mod gonna be? What are your power goals? Well, you know what? I don't care. It's not that I don't care, it's just that my mode of operation when I buy a car that's new to me, obviously I don't buy new cars, it's a waste, but I like to fix everything that's wrong with them before I even think about modifying it. Now, if I have to work on a part of the car that, you know, I might as well upgrade while I'm in there, that's a different story, but this car doesn't need anything like that. But once I get tires on it and the wheels repaired and refinished and get some bushings in it that it needs pretty badly, put a windshield in it finally, the first thing I'll probably do is verify that it has a tune or not, and if it doesn't have one, it will be getting one. As well, I'm going to have a new exhaust made. I know I can buy decat pipes, but I just want to I got an idea of how to make it sound even better. Might put dump valves on it and maybe meth injection to keep it consistent, but I am not trying to turn the boost up. I'm not going to intercool it. I'm not going to upgrade the turbos or the fuel system. That's just a huge waste. I didn't buy this car to modify. I didn't buy this car to turn it into something it wasn't. I feel like a lot of people buy cars because of the ability to mod them, and that's not why I bought this. Yeah, my 540 and some of my other cars have a whole bunch of stuff done to them. I put a cam in my Tahoe I can't leave anything alone, but this car is not going to be something that the sky is the limit. I'm pretty close to the sky right now with it. It is already a handful to drive. I'm sure new tires will help tremendously, but I should have bought one of these cars a long time ago. I'm mad at myself. I don't know what I was thinking. I couldn't justify it, and I had like 17 cars, and I couldn't justify selling some to buy something like this. It just took a long time for me to realize. Anyway, hopefully you like the footage. I just reviewed it, and it is amazing, at least from my standpoint. I set the bar pretty low. Subscribe, because there will be more videos on this car.